Welcome back to 11 After 9. I'm Derek, and this is a Porsche channel that exists to give you the honest, down-to-earth truth about buying and owning these cars. It's direct conversation from someone who drives them, owns them, and lives with them every day. So today's episode is a little different. If you're watching this, maybe someone you love sent this to you. Or maybe they set this up on the living room TV and walked out of the room to grab a cup of water. Or heck, maybe they just put their phone in your hands and said, hey, please watch this. And the reason they did that was because they want a Porsche. But I'm not going to talk to them today. I'm going to talk to you. I'm not here to help your partner pull a fast one. I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm the wrong guy for that anyways. I'm married to an amazing person who's way smarter than I am and can tell a car guy excuse 3 rooms away. She can hear the tone of my voice and stops me there. So most of the points that I'm going to chat with you about in this short video have been pressure tested at my kitchen table. I can promise you that. But what I want to do is give you the most honest version about why someone might want one of these cars. The good, the expensive, the embarrassing, all of it. And then you can decide what you want to do with it. Sorry, real quick. Did you do something with your hair? It looks different. It looks good. Also, I gotta say, that shirt looks fantastic on you. The color really works. Anyway, let's start with the part that you're actually worried about, the money. Because if I were you, I'd start there too. A Porsche does cost more to own than a Camry. I'm not going to pretend otherwise, but the gap is smaller than most people think, and a lot of it depends on the choices you actually control. What very few people realize about a purchase price is a good used Porsche, a clean 981 Boxster, a 987 with slightly higher miles, a well-kept early Boxster 986. They often cost the same amount as a new mid-trim Camry or Accord. Sometimes even less. We're not talking about a $100,000 car here, though a lot of these points do translate to almost any purchase level. But today specifically, we're talking about a $30,000, $35,000, $40,000 used car that just happens to wear a different badge. So when you hear the word Porsche, I just don't want your brain to go straight to that 6-figure number. For most of the people watching this channel, that's not in the conversation. The conversation is about a used car in the same dollar bracket as a sensible sedan you are probably already going to consider. And now I'm going to share a little bit of information that's truthful but doesn't really help the case. For these cars we're going to be talking about, insurance is a little bit higher. It's not crazy, but it is higher depending on where you live. A new set of tires might cost 15 or 20% more than they would in a normal car. And the continued maintenance, which you have to do in these cars, can be slightly more expensive than down the street. But if you do it right, they're actually pretty reasonable, because here's something that people don't off the bat realize is that you don't always have to take your car to the dealer to have it serviced. If you always take your Porsche to the local dealer for an oil change, yes, it's going to sting. But if you take it to a good independent Porsche specialist, and every reasonable sized city has one, you might be looking around $175. That's not nothing, but it's not a $400 horror story you might sometimes imagine, and really is a lot closer to what you might pay to have an oil change done in your 4Runner. If a Porsche eventually needs a slightly more expensive job, like say maybe a new clutch, at an indie shop it might be a few $1,000s, not $5,000 or $7,000 or $8,000. It's still real money, I'm not waving it off. But it's really in the same ballpark as a transmission service for a lot of regular cars. So my takeaway point is Porsche is somewhat more expensive to live with than a normal car, but it's not double, it's not triple, it's somewhat. And almost everything that scares people about the cost is fixable with one decision: finding a good independent shop and not going to a higher price dealer for everything. But with that being said, I often find that Porsche service advisors are extremely intuitive in understanding that certain jobs have to be priced a certain way, and it's amazing how even the big dealerships will work with you if they're really your only choice. But now I want to look at the other side of the coin, and this is where the math actually gets kind of interesting. You've all heard that the minute a car drives off the dealer lot, it loses a third of its value. And then very quickly, due to vehicle depreciation, you're losing money the way ice melts in the sun. And in fact, in many ways, you're definitely not wrong. There's a study that comes out every year from a research firm called IC Cars. They look at what hundreds of thousands of cars actually sell for after 5 years. The most recent one from this year looked at almost 1 million vehicles. And here's what they found. An average car loses 42% of its value in 5 years. 42%. Almost half in 5 years. And the luxury cars most people compare a Porsche to, they're actually worse. Luxury cars average closer to 48%. A BMW 7 Series, a Maserati Ghibli, the Range Rover, those kind of cars routinely lose 60-70% of their value in that same window. So here is something that's really interesting about a Porsche. In that same study, The #1 vehicle for value retention in the entire country. It wasn't a Toyota, it wasn't a truck, it was a Porsche 718 Cayman. It loses less than 10% of its value in 5 years. The #2 car for best value retention, it was a Porsche 911. So to put that in perspective, while the average car loses 42 cents on every dollar, a 911 loses about 20 cents, and a Cayman loses about a dime. And that is just the new car story. The story for older Porsches, the kind most people on this channel are actually shopping for, that's even more interesting. So Hagerty is a classic car insurance company, and they track the values of older Porsches in much the same way. Over the last 5 years, a 997 Generation 911, I have one in my garage right now, is up 34% in value. The 996 generation, the generation that preceded it, the one that everyone used to call the ugly duckling, is up 40%. And the 964, which is even an earlier generation back in the air-cooled days, from the early 90s, is up 70%. Even the transaxle car, the 944 of all things, is up 75%. So we're not talking about depreciation here. We're talking about appreciation for these older Porsches. So again, taking a step back, I need to be honest. This isn't a straight line curve. These numbers don't sit along a straight line. Just like anything else, Porsche values go up and down. Classic Porsche market had a real correction around 2018, 2019, and some cars did lose ground. Anyone who tells you these things only go up is selling you something, because they don't. But generally, they do go up over time, and they do have some bumps along the way, the same as anything else. And again, just keeping it real, no car, and I mean no car, is an investment. The stock market can be an investment. Your 401k can be an investment. Your 529 can be an investment in your kid's future. A Porsche is something you spend money on. Of all the serious things you spend money on, this is one of the very few that the money is still there when you're done using it. So here's how I might frame it for you. The real cost of a Porsche is not the sticker price. The real cost is the gap between what you pay and what you get back when you sell it. On most cars, that gap is huge. It's enormous. On a Porsche, the gap is smaller than almost anything else you could possibly put in your garage. And one more thing, and I promise you I'm not feeding you a line here. If something happens, your roof all of a sudden needs to be replaced. All 3 of your kids need braces at the same time. If life happens, a Porsche is one of the easiest cars in the world to sell. There's always a buyer for these cars. And for a car, it's more liquid than most things you could possibly have in your house. You don't have to sit around waiting for 6 months for the right offer. So when you're looking at that price tag and your stomach is doing that thing, I also want you to look at what that money does over 5 years in this car versus the alternatives. It's not the same math. By the way, you've been working really hard. I see it. I just want you to know that. And honestly, you've never looked better. But anyway, point number 2, and here's a question I want you to sit with for a second. What was the last big purchase your household made that you're still thinking about? Not in a regretful way, in a good way. Most of what we buy is forgotten in a year. The phone, the appliances, the furniture, other kinds of cars, they all kind of dissolve into the general background of life. A Porsche is one of those rare things that doesn't do that. So the first reason is these cars were built to outlast us. I have a 1972 911 in my garage. It's 53 years old, and it still drives beautifully, it still starts every time, and it still makes the same sound it made the day it left the factory in Stuttgart. Most of what we buy is frankly designed to fail. Phones are obsolete in 3 years, appliances maybe at best last us a decade. A Porsche taken care of is something that can be in the family for 50 years. It can be the thing that kids learn to drive in. It can be the thing one of them inherits. It's genuinely uncommon anymore for manufactured objects to do that. The second reason, it's not just an object, it's a thing you do things in. The Sunday morning drive to get coffee, the detour on the way home that makes a regular Tuesday feel like something special, the trip to the coast that you would have skipped in any other car, the moment your kid asks if they can ride shotgun and you say yes. Those things don't always make it to a balance sheet, but I'd argue that maybe they're the most valuable things in this discussion. So when someone says they want a Porsche, what they're usually asking for, even if they can't put it this way, is permission to spend money on something that's going to make the ordinary days feel less ordinary, and to maybe eventually hand it down. Anyway, hold on, one more thing. Have you been working out? Because there's just something different. I can't put my finger on it, but you're glowing. Also, I made dinner reservations. Oh, don't worry, the dishes are done. Anyway, last point. Point number 3, Porsche as therapy. This is a thing that I believe in the most, and I think it might actually be one of the most overlooked points. There's a thing that happens in a Porsche, whether it's a manual or a PDK, that doesn't happen in other cars. You can't look at your phone. That sounds like a small thing, but it's not a small thing. A modern commuter car drives itself more or less. It has lane keeping, adaptive cruise control, it has a giant screen full of notifications nonstop. You can be on the highway for an hour and never really be in the car. Your hands are on the wheel, but your brain is still at work, or on a text, or whatever was bothering you when you left the house. Porsche won't let you do that. If it's a manual, you have to shift. You have to work the clutch, you have to find the gears, you have to hear the engine. If it's a PDK, you have to drop it into Sport or Sport Plus and pull the paddles yourself. You're just as committed to the drive. A Porsche asks something of you either way. Your hands, your feet, your ears, your brain, they're all working together. There's no room left over for the thing your boss said in that meeting. I'm really not exaggerating. I'm a much more patient husband when I've gone for a drive. I'm a more present dad. Whatever I had in my head at 4 p.m. is a lot quieter when I get home at 6. So in some ways, maybe this car isn't a luxury. Maybe in some ways, it's maintenance. So when your partner says they want a Porsche, part of what they're asking for is the version of themselves that comes home from that drive. That version is better company. That version is more here. That version might be the one you really want around. All right, here's the last one. Everything I just said, the value retention, the heirloom thing, the therapy machine, that's all true. But if I'm really deep down honest with you, none of that's the real reason. The real reason is a lot harder to say out loud. The real reason is that life is short, and most of what we do with our money is responsible. And somewhere in there, I just want something that isn't. I want the one thing that's a little selfish, a little impractical, a little bit just for me, and I'm asking you to trust me with it. That's actually what your partner is asking. Not necessarily for the car, but for that trust. Trust that they'll be responsible about it. Trust that they've done their homework. Trust that this isn't the start of a midlife thing or a financial spiral. They need your trust. They'll still take you out, still be present, still be the person you signed up for. Plus, they'll occasionally want to go for a drive. That's the actual ask. And the car is just the shape it's taking. And to bare my soul a little bit more, the thing that makes me most excited about buying a Porsche isn't always necessarily the Porsche itself. It's that my spouse is excited for me. Being on the same page about something like this matters more than the car does. If she's not into it, I don't enjoy it the same way. I'd rather drive a Camry that we both feel good about than a Porsche I have to apologize for every time I take it out. So if your partner is asking for one of these cars, what they probably want even more than the car is for you to be a little excited too, or at least not dreading it. They want to come back from a drive and tell you about it. They want you to actually want to hear about it. They want to take you somewhere in it and have you look forward to that trip. They don't want to have to sneak out to the garage. They just want to have a partner in that excitement. If you're skeptical, you have a right to be. Most car guy excuses, they just don't hold up. And so it's up to you to pressure test that. Ask for the budget, ask for what the plan is if it doesn't work out, ask for how long they've been thinking about this and what changes if you say yes and what changes if you say no. And if the answers are good ones, the answers that a partner who respects you would give, then maybe you owe it to them to give it a listen. Because the version of them that comes back from their first drive in their first Porsche is going to want to take you somewhere. And I think you'll like where they take you. So that's it. That's the most honest pitch I can possibly give you. To the person that had this video sent to them, thank you for taking the time and watching it. That alone tells me something about how maybe this discussion might go. To the person who sent it, be patient, make the case in your own words, don't weaponize a YouTube video. Conversation is yours, it's not mine. If this helped, that's what 11after9 is here for. Hit the subscribe button and I'll keep showing up. I'm Derek, this is 11after9. Stop waiting for life to begin, get out and drive.